salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So to continue, inshallah, in our class, talking about the rules of Ramadan in the madahibs, in the four madahibs, even though there are more madahibs included in the dispute, within the dispute, but our focus is the differences that happen between the four madahibs. And we started, I just want to chain everything together. We started with their obligatory of Ramadan, and we proved that from the Quran and the Sunnah, the ijma' of the Ummah, is the consensus of the whole entire Ummah that Ramadan is an obligation upon the Ummah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Then we talked about the pillars of Ramadan and the difference that happened between it. And we said two pillars are agreed upon, which is the time of the month of Ramadan, and also staying away from anything that can break your fasting. These are two pillars that the ulama, they agreed upon, four of them. And when they disagreed, is it among the pillars or is by itself, which is the intention. And we talked about how to determine the beginning of the month of Ramadan. We talked about the dispute between the fuqaha. Then the last thing we did was completing the section of the niyyah. And of course, we said that the Jumhur, they agreed that niyyah is part of the fasting. And some of them said it has to be done before the Fajr. And some said it shouldn't have to be done before Fajr. It doesn't matter. And some said you don't need a niyyah because when the Ramadan comes, it comes with that, time frame, that period, nothing else. You cannot have intention of fasting in other fasting. So if you start fasting, it automatically goes to the fasting of the month of Ramadan. So we try to bring all the dispute that happened to the madahibs. So inshallah, if you were part of the halaqah, if not, you can go back to the recording, so we can be able to repeat it. So today, inshallah, we're going to start with a dispute that happened within, before we start the things that nullifies the month of Ramadan or other things. We'll talk about the tahara, which is purification, and the question will be, is it part of fasting, or is it a condition that has to happen before the fasting, or not? We talk about that. So, number one, Jumhur fuqaha, and when we say Jumhur, it's 3 against 1. Jumhur fuqaha, they said purification is not a condition for the fasting to be valid. And another way, if a person is praying, purification is a condition for their prayer to be valid. So they said that it's not the case in fasting. That is not the case in fasting. And their proof is Hadith Aisha radiallahu anha and Hadith Salama radiallahu anha. Both of them said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصبح جنبا من جماع غير احتلام في رمضان ثم يصوم. They said that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام used to wake up on a janaba from intercourse, not even a dream, and he will be fasting. He will be fasting, continue his fasting. So this is a hujjah, which is authentic hadith, is a proof that both of them said the Prophet ﷺ did it, and the hadith is authentic. Then the Jumhur, they said, then purification is not required for the person to start fasting, which means you should not, not being in a stage of purification cannot prevent you from starting your fasting. And some went against that, but there were a few of them, but then they have no proof for that, which is Ibrahim al-Nakhai, wa Urwa ibn Zubair wa Tawus. They brought another statement. They said, if he intentionally neglect to take a shower before the beginning of the fasting, then their fasting is not valid. But they use another proof, which the ulama, they have a question mark on that, which is Hadith Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He said that he heard the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, Man asbaha junuban fi Ramadan aftar. He said that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, whoever wakes up in the morning in a stage of janaba, they have broken their fasting. And when the Sahaba argued with him and the Tabi'een, he used to say, wa Rabbul Ka'bah. I heard this from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. By the Lord of the Kaaba, I heard this from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And some of the ulama, they said, no, this is limited to the ha'id. Ha'id is the woman that is menstruating. It is limited to that. And also, if a woman who is on their menstruation days, if that stops before the Fajr, but they didn't have the chance to take a shower till after Fajr, their fasting is valid. Their fasting is valid. So then to summarize it is, they agree that being in a stage of janaba does not prevent a person from fasting. For example, if a person, having intercourse with their wife and they didn't have the chance to take a shower, and the Fajr time came, they have to make iftar, they have to make a suhoor, and the Fajr time came, they can wait till they eat and then they take a shower and they pray Fajr. Or let's say they wake up and they overslept, and it was like sunrise, and it was in the month of Ramadan. They never took a shower. Also, they will continue their fasting, and being in a stage of janaba will not break or prevent them from fasting. Now, we'll move to the next chapter, which is the second side of this, whole, topic, which is the people who are allowed to break their fasting. People who are allowed to break their fast during the month of Ramadan. Al-Muftiruna fi Shar'i. So, he said the people who are allowed to break their fasting are being categorized into three. صنف يجوز له الفطر والصوم بإجماع. One category, they are permitted to fast or to break their fasting at the same time. They have the permission to fast and to break their fasting at the same time. And this is an agreed upon. There is no alim upon the fuqaha al-arba'ah who said otherwise. They agree that this group of people, their condition allows them to take the option to fast or not to fast, which means that fasting and not fasting is their choice. And this is a consensus among the ulama. And we'll talk about them. The second group is صنف يجب عليه الفطر على الاختلاف في ذلك بين المسلمين. The second group is the one that is obligated upon them to break their fasting. But that obligation, the ulama, they have differences within putting that label of obligation upon them. And the third group is صنف لا يجوز له الفطر. And the third is the one that is not permitted to break their fast during the day of the month of Ramadan. And this also is agreed upon the ulama. It's agreed upon the ulama. So the first group is the one that have the choice to fast or not to fast, and this agreed upon. The second group is the one that are obligated to fast, but then some of the ulama, they have an issue. They disagreed to put that level of obligation or not. And the third group is the one that لا يجوز لهم الفطر. They are not allowed to break their fast during the day of the month of Ramadan. So all of these people, all of these groups, three groups, they have rulings, they have rules. They have rules. So as for the first one, أما الذي يجوز لهم الأمران. So the first is the one that have the permission, have the jawaz to fast or to break their fast. Both are allowed for them to do. Those are al-marid, the sick person, bil-ittifaq, and this agreed upon. He is permitted to fast or not to fast. Wal-musafiru bil-ikhtilaf. The traveler also have the option, but it's not agreed upon. وَالْحَامِلُ وَالْمُرْضِعُ وَالشَّيْخُ الْكَبِيرُ وَهَذَا الْقِسْمُ التَّقْسِيمُ مَفْرُوضٌ عَلَيْهِ. So the pregnant woman and the breastfeeding woman, old person, is agreed that they have the option to fast or not to fast. They have the option not to fast or to fast, and this agreed upon. So within the first category, the only person that the ulama, the fuqaha, they have differences in giving them the option to fast or not to fast is the musafir, is the traveler. But the sick person, they said he has the option to fast or not to fast. The pregnant woman and the breastfeeding woman and the old person, all of these people, they have the option to fast or not to fast. So here it's kind of like tricky. In the beginning, they said there is a group of people that the ulama agreed that they have the option to fast or not to fast. But when they come mentioning those peoples, there is a category within those people. Some of the ulama, they said, no, we disagreed. They call it, they disagreed on general, but in specifics, they disagreed. They disagreed on the specific. And this is one of those things. So they all agree that yes, but when it comes to the traveler, they have disagreed, and we'll know, inshallah, who disagreed with them and with the person, the traveler. So they said, فَأَمَّا الْمُسَافِرُ فَالنَّظَرُ فِيهِ فِي مَوَاضِعَ مِنْهَا. So as for the now, he pulled out the one that they have difference with, which is the traveler. He said we have to look at it in two ways. هَلْ إِنْ صَامَ أَجْزَأَهُ صَوْمُهُ أَمْ لَيْسَ يُجْزِئُهُ. The first thing that we look into is, if he fasts while traveling, is that fasting covering his obligatory fasting or not? We have to look into that. And also, وَهَلْ إِنْ كَانَ يُجْزِي الْمُسَافِرُ صَوْمُهُ الْأَفْضَلُ لَهُ الصَّوْمُ أَمِ الْفِطْرُ أَمْ هُوَ مُخَيَّرٌ بَيْنَهُ. If he is traveling and fasting, if that fasting can cover his obligatory fasting, is he still given the choice to fast or not to fast? We have to look into this. وَهَلِ الْفِطْرُ جَائِزٌ لَهُ هُوَ فِي سَفَرٍ مَحْدُودٍ أَمْ فِي كُلِّ مَا يَنْطَلِقُ عَلَيْهِ اسْمَ السَّفَرِ فِي وَضْعِ اللُّغَةِ. Also, if he is traveling, is he permitted to break his fast in a specific fasting, or that should be applied in any kind of fasting? We have to look into that. And also we have to look into وَمَتَى يُفْطِرُ وَمَتَى يُمْسِكُ. When can he break his fast, and when can he stop? When can he start fasting? When can he stop fasting, and when can he start fasting? The traveler. When can he take the excuse of fasting, and when can he start fasting? Let's say when he's traveling, what is the start point of him being in that category, having the option to fast or not to fast? And when he comes home, when during the day and all those things, can he be considered that you don't have that excuse or that promotion or whatever you want to call it or not? Now, وهل إذا مر بعض الشهر له أن ينشئ السفر أم لا? And also they have to look into if he is staying at home for the half of the month of Ramadan, and is he allowed to initiate a trip or not? ثم إذا أفطر ما حكمه? If he initiates a trip and break his fasting because he's traveling, what is his ruling? So we have to look into all these things. There's a lot of things that we have to look into. وأما المريض فالنظر فيه أيضا في تحديد المرض الذي يجوز له فيه الفطر وفي حكم الفطر. As for the sick person also, the only thing that we need to look into is to specify and describe the disease, the sickness, the illness that will allow him to break his fast. Will allow him to break his fast, and what is the ruling of when he breaks his fast? We need to look into that. So we have to look into all these things in order to conclude the first category, which is the people who are permitted to fast or not to fast. It's the same to them to fast or not to fast. Now, so for the first mas'ala, the first thing that we need to look into, if he fasts, is that going to be sufficient for the month of Ramadan or is not? That's the first thing he said we need to look into. So let's look into that. The first is إن صام المريض والمسافر هل يجزيه صومه عن فريضة أم لا? If the sick person who is sick, and because of his sickness he's been given the permission not to fast, and the traveler, because of his travel, he is permitted not to fast. But if they fast, can that be sufficient? Can that cover the obligatory fasting of the month of Ramadan, or is not going to cover that because they have the permission? But the ulama, they have differences into that. So the Jumhur, فذهب الجمهور إلى أنه إن صام وقع صيامه وأجزاءه. The Jumhur, they said, if he is able to fast while sick, and if he is able to fast while traveling, that is sufficient for him. And his fasting is valid. But Ahlul Zahir, they said, his fasting will not be sufficient. It's not going to be the same as the fasting of the obligatory fasting of the month of Ramadan. He has to make up those days that he was traveling. Even if he's fasting, he has to make up those days. And this is Madhab al-Zahiri. It's a Madhab al-Zahiri. And when we say al-Zahiri, it's not included in the four Madhabs. And because I won't go details to Madhab al-Zahiri because they have some issues. Now, but Madhab al-Zahiri also, sometimes they can come with very strong proofs that they can challenge even the four fuqaha. So let's look at the reasons why they deferred into this thing. They said that it's being repeated in the ahadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man kana minkum in the ayah, first in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Man kana minkum maridan aw ala safarin fa'iddatun min ayyamin ukhra." They look at the ayah from the outside. It's from the outside. They said, if a person among you is sick or traveling, they should replace those days in the month of Ramadan with other days that when they come back, or when they get better, or when they feel better. So they said because of this ayah, they cannot fast, they cannot be traveling or sick at the same time fasting. So they will disregard this ayah, because this ayah is commanding them that if they are sick or they're traveling, they should fast all the days and replace with the month of Ramadan. بين أن يحمل على الحقيقة فلا يكون هناك محذوف أصلا أو يحمل على المجاز فيكون التقدير فأفطره فعدة من أيام أخرى. So this is a linguistic connection, and we don't want to go into those details. But the chosen one is the person who fasts while sick, while traveling. If they fast, of course, that will cover their fasting of the month of Ramadan. Of the month of Ramadan. So now we go to the Jumhur. They said that they brought another hadith. They said if a person fasts while traveling or while sick, their fasting is sufficient. What is their proof? Their proof is hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu. He says, سافرنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في رمضان فلم يعب الصائم على المفطر ولا المفطر على الصائم. He said, we were traveling with the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, and some of us were fasting, some of them were not fasting, and no one was blamed. The fasting person wasn't blamed, and also the one that isn't fasting wasn't blamed, while the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام was with them. So he kind of approved both conditions, both scenarios. And also another hadith that is narrated by the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, or from the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, said, Anas, he said, كان أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يسافرون فيصوم بعضهم ويفطر بعضهم. He said that the companion of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, they used to travel together. Some will fast and some will not fast. So these ahadith, they are strong to prove that if a person is traveling and able to fast, if they fast, their fasting will be valid, and also will be sufficient for the month of Ramadan. وأهل الظاهر, the Zahir, Zahiriya is a madhab al-Zahiri, which if you just pass the level of beginner, you have to learn the madhab of Zahiriya, which is the fifth madhab that is, next more famous than the madhab, the four madhabs. Their proof here is the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سافر إلى مكة عام الفتح في رمضان فصام حتى بلغ الكديد ثم أفطر فأفطر الناس. The hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam traveled to Mecca in the year of the conquest of Mecca, and he was fasting. And that happened in the month of Ramadan. He said when the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam went close to Kadid is a very close place in Mecca, he said he broke his fast, and people also break their fast. وَكَانُوا يَأْخُذُونَ بِالْأَحْدَثِ فَالْأَحْدَثِ من أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قالوا وهذا يدل على نسخ الصوم. They said that the fuqaha used to take the ahadith in order. The one that came last will have the ruling over the one that came first, and this hadith came last. This hadith was received by the Prophet ﷺ, after the first hadith. So, but this is their proof. والحج على أهل الظاهر إجماعهم على أن المريض إذا صام أجزاءه صوم. But you use their own proofs to go against them. How to use that? Because in madhab al-Zahiriyya, if a sick person is fasting, their fasting is enough. But they said, at the same time, they put them together with the traveler, that if they are fasting, their fasting is valid, but it will not be able to replace the month of Ramadan, the days of the month of Ramadan. So you use the same thing against them. You tell them, hey, if his fasting is valid. He is not fasting outside the month of Ramadan. Rather, he's fasting inside the month of Ramadan. So why do you want to punish him? He's fasting, struggling, and it's in the month of Ramadan, so it's sufficient for him. So you want to punish him twice? No. So you use the same thing against them. So that means that what they said here in this mas'ala, the fuqaha, they went against them, and the jumhur, the chosen opinion here, which is if the person is able to fast while traveling or sick, that is enough for them. That is sufficient for them. They don't have to make up those days. And they are muhayyarun, they are being given the option to fast the month of Ramadan, all the days of the month of Ramadan if they're traveling or they're sick. And also they can have the choice to break their fasting, while traveling or while sick. So this is the first category. So the second thing that we need to look into is هل الصوم أفضل أو الفطر? So if a person is sick or traveling, what is the best, fasting or breaking your fast? إذا قلنا إنه من أهل الفطر على مذهب الجمهور فإنهم اختلفوا في ذلك. So if we call this person who is traveling or who is sick, if we put him in the category that should break their fasting, then we'll have differences within the fuqaha into three opinions. I repeat again. If we consider the traveler or the sick person among the people who should break their fast, then the ulama have three opinions in putting a ruling for those people. فبعضهم رأى أن الصوم أفضل وممن قال بهذا القول مالك وأبو حنيفة. So Abu Hanifa and Malik, they said, if a person is traveling, they can fast. Fasting is the best for them. If a person is sick and they can fast, fasting is the best for them. This is madhab al-Maliki, madhab al-Hanafi. وبعضهم رأى أن الفطر أفضل وممن قال هذا أحمد وجماعة. And some of them said, Imam Ahmad and many of the fuqaha, they said breaking the fast is the best for these people. The sick person and the traveler, the opposite of what Abu Hanifa and Malik said. They said, Abu Hanifa and Malik, they said fasting is best for them. Ahmad and a group of the ulama, they said, no, breaking their fast is the best for them. وبعضهم رأى أن ذلك على التخيير وأنه ليس أحدهما أفضل. And of course the Shafi'i will come and say, and with the people who supported him, they said it's the same. Because if they are being given the option to fast or not to fast, so fasting cannot be better than not fasting, and not fasting cannot be better than fasting. So this is the madahibs in terms of traveling or sick. Traveling or sick, they have differences. If the person fasts, they can fast. Of course, Malik rahimahullah and Abu Hanifa, they said fasting is the best for them. Imam Ahmad, Madhab al-Hanbali, they said no. And many of the fuqaha, they said no, not fasting is the best. And Shafi'i and his group, they said it doesn't matter. It's the same to these two categories. Now let's go to the proofs. The proofs why they have these differences. معارضة المفهوم من ذلك لظاهر بعض المفهوم. So they have different understanding of the same proofs that appear to be contradicting against each other based on their understanding. So fasting من إجازة الفطر للصائم إنه هو الرخصة له لمكان رفع المشقة عنه. So they have different reasoning. Some of them said no, the person who is traveling is being only giving their opportunity or the excuse to break their fast because of difficulties. So they limited the difficulty. They linked the traveling with the difficulties. And وما كان رخصة فالأفضل ترك رخصة. And if that is not there anymore, then fasting will be the best. Fasting will be the best. And the people who said no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not linked into any difficulties. It's just an excuse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to us. And the first, they use the proof of Hadith Hamza ibn Amr al-Aslami. And this is Muslim. He said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال, he said, Ya Rasulullah, Hamza ibn Amr al-Aslami, he said, Ya Rasulullah, أجد في قوة على الصيام في السفر هل علي من جناح. He asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, actually he told the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, I am strong enough to fast while traveling. Am I being sinful? فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هي رخصة من الله. This is not fasting, it's a grant, it's an excuse from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَمَنْ أَخَذَ بِهَا فَحَسَنٌ. Whoever take that grant, whoever take that permission, whoever take that excuse is good. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّ أَنْ يَصُومَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ. And whoever wants to fast also is not sinful. So actually this hadith breaks everything down, which is all the same. The Prophet ﷺ said it's all the same. It's an excuse, it's a rukhsah that Allah gave to us. But the Prophet did not link the rukhsah with difficulties in this hadith. He said it's just linked with traveling. So if you take it, you're good. You have no sin, you have no problems. If you don't take it also, it's good for you. وَمِنْ أَنَّ آخِرَ فِعْلِهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم كان الفطر. So the first group, they said, the last thing that the Prophet ﷺ did was he break his fast while traveling. فَيُوهِمُ أَنَّ الْفِطْرَ أَفْضَلُ. It seems like breaking the fast is better. لكن الفطر لما كان ليس حكما وإنما هو من فعل المباح عسر على الجمهور أن يضع المباح أفضل من الحكم. So the argument that Jumhur they have is the majority. They said, you guys said this is the last thing that the Prophet ﷺ did. Break his fast while traveling. We have a lot of reasonings. The first reason is breaking the fast while traveling is just doing something is permitted to do. It doesn't have a ruling. You don't have a solid ruling that do this or do this. Do this or do this. It's been given option. So who tells us that the Prophet ﷺ did not take the option in the beginning and take the other option at the end? So that is kind of like a very difficult way to wrap it together and say, no, because if he did it at the end, if the issue wasn't optional, then of course the second one will abrogate the first one. But the issue is optional. So the Prophet ﷺ might took the first option in the beginning and took the last option at the end. So based on this, the Jumhur, they said, we cannot buy your argument. We cannot take your argument because you are using something that is not convincing to us. It's not convincing us because this is something that the ruling of it is not solid. It's based on two ways. Do it is good. Do it this way is good, or do it this way is good. So the Prophet ﷺ is part of the people who are being commanded to take the option. So if he do something in the beginning and did something opposite that at the end, that doesn't definitely mean that he abrogated the first action that he did. Rather, it can mean that the Prophet ﷺ took the first option that he wanted to take for his own reasoning and take the second option that he took for his own reasoning. So based on the Jumhur, they said it's gonna be still optional. وأما من وأما من خير في ذلك فحديثان حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها. So for the people who said it's optional, people, the Jumhur who are arguing against the people who said no, it's an obligation, their proof is based on the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha. Hadith Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, سأل Hamza ibn Amr al-Aslami. They used the hadith that we mentioned earlier, that Hamza ibn Amr al-Aslami, he asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, I am strong enough to fast. Am I sinful fasting while traveling or not? The Prophet ﷺ explained to him that it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to fast, you're okay. If you don't want to fast, also you're okay. So this hadith is a very strong hadith that will keep Jumhur to hold on to their proof. When the Prophet ﷺ said, فَإِنْ شِئْتَ فَصُمْ وَإِنْ شِئْتَ فَافْطِرْ. If you wish to fast, fast. If you wish to break your fast, you break your fast. But then the second question also is the chosen answer is the Jumhur of the ulama. It means that if a person is traveling or sick, they still have the option to fast or not to fast. And the third question that we'll ask is, هل الفطر جائز للمسافر وفي سفر محدود أو في سفر غير محدود? So now we want to identify and limit the kind of a fasting, if the kind of a traveling, the travel that a person can break their fast or not. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran and in the hadith, traveling. So back in the days, I know they didn't ask this question, but because they were with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and they understand it best. But when we come nowadays, we have to ask, is it like going to Milwaukee considered traveling or not? Is it going to Whitewater considered traveling or not? Is it going to the east side considered traveling or not? Or going to Woodman's? So all these questions will come. So that's the reason why they clarified, but because there was no difference. There was nothing in the hadith, differentiating the kinds of travel. So the ulama, they have to step in and put some rulings. So this is a question. So this is a big difference between the fuqaha, between the fuqaha. So the Jumhur, they said, إلى أنه إنما يفطر في السفر الذي يقصر فيه الصلاة وذلك على حسب اختلافهم في هذه المسألة. The Jumhur, the majority, they said the only time that this traveler can break their fast is when they are traveling and shortening the salah. That also will bring a lot of problem. When can you shorten the salah? So they are kind of based this travel upon the travel that the person can shorten their salah and combine. For the fuqaha who accept combining, right? So they said this is a mas'ala that they will have a lot of differences. I will prefer, inshallah, to stop here. There's a lot of talks here, and we need to understand it because we in Ramadan, we go to some prayer, we go to Philadelphia, some people, they have work while traveling, and some go all the way. So we go everywhere. So I think it's very important for us to spend more time into that mas'ala. So inshallah, we'll open the floor if there's any questions, inshallah. We'll take those questions. If not, we are going to get ready to pray, inshallah. Umar. Umar Warshi, we cannot hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you. Masha. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Umar?
Great. Good to be back. It's been a long few weeks without any nasiha from you.
I know. Subhanallah. One day I saw you in my dream, Umar. It wasn't a bad dream. It was a good dream.
Alhamdulillah. I'm in Chicago area taking care of my mom today. She had surgery, so keep her in your thoughts.
Yes. You were telling me. How is she feeling now?
She's doing better, alhamdulillah. So
may Allah give us shifa. Abdullah.
Me, Abdullah?
Yes, you are the only Abdullah here.
Oh. Yes,
how's it going? So inshallah, we'll wrap it up inshallah here today, and then